Hello. Today I will be deliberating a lecture on tribal healing practices. I have divided my lecture primarily into three sections. They are understanding traditional healing and traditional healers. Secondly, theoretical perspective on folk healing practices of the tribals. And thirdly, tribal healing practices across India, which will be followed by a conclusion. According to Ajit K. Dalal, in his seminal work, Folk Wisdom and Traditional Healing Practices, Some Lessons for Modern Psychotherapies, notes that freedom from pain and suffering has been a major preoccupation of Indian society since antiquity, like many other traditional cultures. Based on a shared understanding of human nature and the causes of suffering, every society has developed its own healing institutions and practices. The traditional systems, so evolved, have withered the vagaries of time and still thrive in the present times on popular support. A wide range of healers and healing centers, which includes temples, majas, shrines, local deities, etc., are found in every nook and corner of the country. According to the 5th Plan document, 1992, India has more than 500,000 traditional healers. This number, of course, includes all practitioners of alternative medicine. Folk medicine is a collective and accumulated knowledge base of a society which is rooted in experience and practical considerations. Folk wisdom finds its expression in proverbs, folklores, legends, poetry, rituals, and mythologies. These sources tells us how life problems are created, construed, and controlled by the collective efforts of the community. In its struggle to maintain harmony and order, every society attempts to develop ecologically valid understanding of human nature, its own theories of suffering and remedial measures. Folk practices are considered to be part of the little tradition, that is, beliefs and practices of the masses. Shamans, spirits, local deities are all part of it. This is contrasted with a great tradition characterized by the practices based on classical and philosophical texts like Vedas, Upanishads, the Gita. In this, the God is held as the Supreme Self, realized through contemplative meditation and devotional worship. It is a misconception that these two traditions are parallel and that the little tradition is subscribed by lower class and caste only. People who subscribe to the folk practices belong to all strata of the society. In India, the folk wisdom manifested in the traditional healing practices is indeed based on complex and cohesive systems of thoughts and beliefs derived from philosophical texts and scriptures. Not only do the folk practices derive their legitimacy from the scriptures, but they also have proven to be effective vehicles to translate the essence of scriptures into dialects that a common man can follow. Folk beliefs and practices can be held as social representations of the formal text and as practical aspects of the classical theories. These are, however, contentious issues. How folk wisdom and scriptures complement each other, and how folk wisdom got distilled and documented in classical text that in turn feed into the social life. In the long history, due to local influences, there are distortions, diversions and mutations in folk practices on the negative side, and improvisations, adaptations and innovations on the positive side. The folk systems have remained responsive to local needs and expectations. Veena Masin notes in her study, Cuddy's Folk Medicine, a Source of Healing, that the concept of traditional medicine is a conventional term used by medical scientists to refer to the empirical medical systems used in different cultures all over the world. Traditional medicine includes all kinds of folk medicine, unconventional medicine, and indeed any kind of therapeutic method that had been handed down by a tradition of a community or ethnic group. The medical traditions in the traditional system are diverse in their historical background, theoretical logic and practices, their contemporary social realities, and their dynamics. Both laymen and health professionals tend to combine their society's individual models of beliefs, referred as explanatory model. According to the Free Dictionary, a traditional healer is a person in the primitive society who uses long established methods passed down from one healer to another to treat a suffering person from various illnesses, many of which have psychological underpinnings. Methods used by traditional healers include the use of roots, fetish dolls, voodoo dolls, and the smoking out of a possessing spirit or spell. The traditional healer, as defined by World Health Organization, is a person who is recognized by the community in which he lives as competent to provide health care by using vegetable, animal, and mineral substances and certain other methods based on the social, cultural, and religious background, as well as on the knowledge, attributes, and beliefs that are prevalent in the community regarding physical, mental, and social well-being, and the causation of disease and disability. There are various healing practices present all around the world, but here we will focus on the tribal healing practices that are present solely in India. A theory is a foundational belief about how the world works. Whether we are aware of it or not, we each live our lives according to our own personal, internalized philosophical theory. Throughout history, it has expressed the deepest questions human beings can ask, and it has taken a central place in the lives of virtually all civilizations and cultures. Theorists such as Edward Tylor introduced the concept of animism. According to the concept of animism, the non-material elements also contain spiritual essence. It is an indigenous tribal practice. In his 1871 book, Primitive Culture, in which he defined it as the general doctrine of souls and other spiritual beings in general. According to Tylor, animism often includes an idea of pervading life and will in nature. That is, a belief that natural objects other than humans have souls. The main concept that prevailed at that time period was that the healing of one is the well-being of all the members of the tribal group. Émile Durkheim was a French sociologist, social psychologist, and philosopher. He is regarded as the second founding father of sociology. One of his noted works in religion is his book on the elementary forms of religious life. It was published in 1912. Durkheim's primary purpose in the elementary forms was to describe and explain the most primitive religion known to man. The book analyzes religion as a social phenomenon. Durkheim attributes the development of religion to the emotional security attained through communal living. According to Durkheim, Early humans associated such feelings not only with one another, but with objects in their environment. This Durkheim believed led to the ascription of human sentiments and superhuman powers to these objects, in turn leading to totemism. The tribals, according to Durkheim, believe that the totems must be worshipped by the group members as they protect the tribal group from all dangers. Sir James George Fraser was a sociologist who hailed from Scotland. His best known work, The Golden Bough, a study in comparative religion, traced the evolution of human behavior, ancient and primitive myth, magic, religion, ritual, and taboo. It was named after the Golden Bough in the sacred grove at Nemi near Rome. From the diagram, we can clearly devise that Fraser formulated two types of magic that is present in the society. They are homeopathic magic, also known as law of similarity, and contagious magic, also known as the law of contact. The magicians in the society use their magical powers for benefiting the whole community by their skill, whether that skill be directed to the healing of diseases, the forecasting of the future, the regulation of the weather, or any other object of general utility. Therefore, noted scholars have penned down their thoughts on religion and have emphasized that people put their utmost faith on religion as the belief that these supernatural powers can provide them with healing and rescue them from all dangers. Tribals are those people across the world whose life patterns are indigenous in nature. India is termed to provide shelter to 84.4 million tribals. Therefore, it has the largest amount of tribals than in any part of the globe. They are also known as Adivashi. Some of the major tribal groups in India include Chenchu, Gonds, Santals, Orans, Mundas, Khashis, Angamis, Bhils, Bhutias, and Great Andamanis, and many more. Santals are the third largest tribe in India. They are mostly found in the states of West Bengal, Bihar, Orissa, Jharkhand, and Assam. They belong to the pre-Aryan period and have been the great fighters from the time of Britishers. Santals have no temples of their own. They even do not worship any idols. Santals follow the Sarna religion. The god and goddess of Santal are Marangburu, Jaherera, and Manji. Santals pay respect to the ghosts and spirits like Kal Singh, Lakchera, Baudarang, etc. They have village priests known as the Neki and Shaman Oja. Animal sacrifices to the gods is the common practice among the Santals to appease the gods and goddess. The Santal healers uses plants for the cure of diabetes, cuts and wounds, fever, respiratory tract disorders, skin disorder, bone fracture, sprain, physical weakness, gastrointestinal disorder, as well as pain. Diabetes was healed with the amalgamation of two plants, such as Catharanthus roseus and Coccinea grandis. Bhils are popularly known as the bowmen of Rajasthan. They are the most widely distributed tribal groups in India. They form the largest tribe of whole South Asia. Bhils are mainly divided into two main groups, the central or pure Bhils and the eastern or Rajput Bhils. Religion practice among the Bhils differ from place to place. Most of them worship local deities like Kandoba, Kanhoba, Bahiroba, and Sital Mata. Some of them worship tiger god called Vagdev. They have no temples of their own. They consult Badwas, the hereditary sorcerers, on all the occasions. Bhils are highly superstitious tribal people. They have bhagat or gurus who perform the religious rites. They have village headsmen who deals with their disputes. The Bhils believed that some people, mainly women, had the ability to cause sickness, misfortune, or death. It was considered that they were in touch with malevolent spirits, such as bhoots and churails, male and female departed spirits, and they could cause them to attack a person through their malign glance. They were known as Dakini. Many Bhils were charms or amulets on their right forearms, or with women specially on their heads, to keep such spirits at bay. Gonds have been largely influenced by the Hindus and for the long time have been practicing the Hindu culture and traditions. Gonds are the worshippers of Januni, or the mother of creator. They use the title Thakur. Gonds mainly worship Farsafen, who is worshipped under the form of the nail and sometimes a piece of iron chain. Besides Farsapen, they are also believe in several other gods, namely Maria, the goddess of plague and other diseases, and Bhimshen, the Hindu god. Apart from these god and goddesses, there exist great number of deities and spirits in the beliefs of Gonds. According to them, every hill, river, lake, tree is also inhabited by a spirit. They say that the earth, water, and air are ruled by the great number of deities which must be appeased by sacrifices. They have priests, Devari, who perform all the religious formalities on all the occasions. Gonds also pay homage to the gods of household, gods of cattle, gods of fields. Animal sacrifice on the religious occasion is the common practice among the Gonds. Baiga is a tribe found in Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, and Jharkhand states of India. The largest number of Baigas is found in Baigachuk in Mandla district and Balaghat district of Madhya Pradesh. The Baigas practice ethno-healing, the use of different parts of plants and herbs for the treatment of diseases is a traditional feature among the Baigas. These are used for restoring the self-healing process. Badaga is one of the unique communities which has its own rich set of traditions and customs. Badaga community is widespread in the villages of Uti. Some historians argue that Badagas are the natives of Nilgiris, but many say these people originated from the nearby state Karnataka. Now Nilgiris has become the place for the whole Badaga community. This largest community is now with the population of approximately 3 lakh. This forms the largest population of the Nilgiri district. The Badaga community too follows the herbal way of healing the individuals of the group from their suffering. They use Segai to treat cuts and wounds, Uttaranai to treat asthma and inflammatory, Basambu for respiratory dental diarrhea, Mulmothakka for eye diseases, Munkil for bone fracture, Nirmulli for fever, and many other folk healing practices. Tagin refers to one of the major tribe of Arunachal Pradesh, which is a member of the larger designation of Tani tribes. Most Tagans are concentrated in Daporijo, Upper Subansiri district, but some are also found in adjoining parts of West Siang. They are mainly the believers of Doni polyism. In 1971, about 20,000 claim to be of Tagain ethnicity. The Tagain tribe uses a variety of plants in order to provide healing to their group members. For example, they use the leaves of Ageratum conizoid for the treatment of burn injury and wounds. Vadaria foetida is used for stomach disorder. Irulas are an ethnic group of India. They inhabit the area of the Nilgiri mountains in the states of Tamil Nadu and Kerala. A scheduled tribe, their population in this region is estimated at 25,000 people. The Irula healers use the ingredients of Vel Puruthi Thalai or Vela plant, that is veli flower, with dried ginger. The mixture is then boiled in hot water. After the concoction is taken, then the sufferer feels that the ominous headache has disappeared. I would like to quote a research published in NCBS on an Irula tribal healer, the healer of this tribe. The headman was well versed in the identification and uses of the medicinal herbs in the surrounding forest. He dealt with skin diseases, ailments of the digestive system, and fevers with medicine he himself prepared. While his knowledge is entirely experience-based, Professor Nambiar confirmed that the healer's selection of medicinal plants and their corresponding illnesses overlap with the practices of Kerala Ayurvedic remedies, suggesting that indigenous folk knowledge had become part of the classical pharmacology. He was very guarded about the sites he collects from. However, he works very closely with a project to collect seedlings of endangered medicinal plants for cultivation and propagation in controlled habitats. In addition to the medicinal herbs, the tribal healers' healing practices included rituals, chants, and song therapy, which he considered sacred and specific for diseases of the mind. There was much overlap in his practice as an herbalist and as a practitioner of magical healing, since healing plants are considered sacred and having magical properties. While he mostly deals with fevers, digestive complaints, and childhood diseases, most lucrative area of his practice involves the magical remedies that he performs using herbal extracts and chants for diseases of the mind, spirit, possessions. His description of how magic and herbal healing practice overlap gave us glimpses of the basis for the reverence with which trees and plants have been held in Indian society. This tribal healer learned his craft as a young man from an older healer and also from elders who practiced their own specific healing methods. There is no established pattern of passing on the herbal medicinal information from generation to generation in this tribe, and he was ambivalent about teaching someone else the magical medical knowledge he had accumulated during his lifetime. Like many healers who deal in magical medicine, he believed that the efficacy of his cures was tied to their being closely guarded secrets. However, the project he participates in to teach proper identification and propagation of plant remedies most commonly used by his people goes part way towards passing on his knowledge of regional and medicinal plants. The Lepchas are the aboriginal inhabitants of Sikkim, and they are mostly settled in North Sikkim. They are mostly Buddhist, and many of them have now adopted Christianity. The Lepcha folklores are melodious and contain lots of interesting folk stories. The primary function of Lepcha religion is to provide the people to deal with the problem of agony and to chalk out ways for receiving relief. They believe in the concept of shamanism. Again, I would like to quote from the works published in NCBS that in 2009, Indudharan Menon interviewed a Mannan folk healer in rural Malabar in Kerala. Mannan healers are traditionally known for their ability to cure children's diseases and are consulted by people from all layers of the society. Even the elite Brahmin, Astavaidya physicians in some cases consult Mannans when their children fall ill. Their ancient and ancestral methods of healing include both medicines and rituals. They also function as exorcists, and some Mannans supposedly practice black magic. Women of the Mannan caste generally work as washerwomen, but are also known for their knowledge of midwifery. The number of Mannans practicing healing has diminished in the last few decades, and Mannans of the younger generation are no longer interested in following their traditional vocation. Moreover, most Mannans who do practice healing have abandoned many of their traditional methods and opted for Ayurvedic medicines and concepts. Nevertheless, Mannans still have a reputation in rural Kerala of being good child specialists. A 65-year-old Mannan healer, Indudharan Menon, interviewed, lives in a village near Trithala, not far away from the banks of the Neela river. His father, Mannan Andi, was well known locally as a healer and exorcist. He followed his family tradition of healing that used rituals, incantations, amulets, and homemade medicines. Mannan made it a point to say that he had not spent much time learning the ancestral Mannan folk healing practices of his father, and that he does not practice the kind of healing his father and ancestors did. While in his early 20s he has decided to go to study with a local Nathan Vedan. Nathan Vedans in Kerala generally practice their ancestral methods of healing, but most of them have been influenced by Ayurveda as well. They use both Kerala's specific medicinal preparations as well as those from Ayurvedic text, and tend to use Ayurvedic concepts while interacting with patients. By studying with the Nathan Vedan as an apprentice for about 6 years, Mannan distanced himself from his Mannan origins and hoped to move up, so to say, socially. He went to learn more about the techniques of manufacturing Ayurvedic medicines with another, Nathan Vedan. Mannan said he had read Malayalam translation of works, an important classical Sanskrit work on Ayurveda, and a collection of medicinal formula popular in Kerala. His teachers had made him learn by heart a number of verses in vernacular that give the composition of Ayurvedic and folk medicinal formula, a method of learning that was once an essential part of a Nathan Vedan or an Ayurvedic physician's period of apprenticeship. Although in the past pediatrics was a specialty of his Mannan ancestors, it was from his Nathan Vedan teachers that Mannan had learnt methods for treating children. When he started practicing as a healer, he added the honorific title Vaidar to his name. He called himself Vaidar and stopped using Mannan, his family caste name. He had a dispensary in the village market where patients came to consult him and buy medicinal plants and the medicinal compounds that he used to make. Patients would buy his prepared medicines or would buy medicinal plants and prepare medicines in their homes by following his instructions. Once pharmaceutical companies opened Ayurvedic pharmacies in his village, his patients stopped buying his prepared medicines and medicinal herbs. Since a major part of his income came from the sales of his medicine, he closed the dispensary cum pharmacy some 10 years back. Now he visits patients in their homes, the way his father and ancestors did in the past. Although he has made a name for himself in his region as a Mannan child specialist, he is now mainly sought after for preparing rare massage oils, tonics, that are not manufactured by big Ayurvedic pharmaceutical companies. Since no one in his family has followed his footsteps, it appears that the last remnants of an ancestral family tradition of healing will disappear with him. The Garos are indigenous people in Meghalaya, India, and neighboring areas of Bangladesh like Mymensingh, Netrokona, and Sylhet, who call themselves Achik Mandi or simply Achik or Mandi. They are the second largest tribe in Meghalaya after the Khashi and comprise about a third of the local population. The Garos are one of the few remaining matrilineal societies in the world. The traditional healthcare practices among the Garo tribes are associated with religious rituals. Sangsarek is the oldest religion of the Garos, which is believed to possess the Tantra and Mantra in association with providing healing. They believe that Shushumi god blesses the people of the group with warding off their diseases, pain, shock, and other dangers of life. In the work of Jerusatnam Devarapalli, Ethnomedicine Practices of Chenchu, a case of integrated medicine system, he noted that the Chenchu are widely scattered in forest and their dwellings are found on hilltops, hill slopes, hill plains, and on the foothills. Most of their dwellings are inaccessible and are distantly separated from the rural or urban centers where modern medicinal facilities are available. In spite of the non-availability of modern medical system, the Chenchu are able to sustain themselves since the time immemorial. This indicates that sickness and disease have never conquered them absolutely. To put it in other words, Chenchu have a mechanism of combating the biological ailments, as could be seen from their local healing practices. Needless to say, the genetic inheritance and the relative pollution-free environment in which they live provide strong resistance against many diseases. Chenchu, though practicing magico-religious treatment, the diagnoses of ailment and physical treatment are also established. They attribute sickness and disease to the wrath of supernatural and the malevolent spirits, and to the envious witchcraft. The diagnosis of disease is mostly based on physical symptoms and the nature and location of pain suffered by the patient. Depending upon the nature of disease, the curing method is emphasized, but in general, more than one curing method is employed, including the use of modern or biomedicine. Thus, the health-seeking behavior of Chenchu includes a number of practices such as household therapies, magico-religious practices, use of plant and animal products, pressure application, and biomedicine. Family among Chenchu serves as a primary unit of health service apart from providing all other usual functions to its members. When anyone in the family becomes sick, they do not immediately rush into either traditional or modern health services functionaries. The aged in the family try to administer certain treatment, such as warming the body in case the patient is shivering, avoiding food and drink when they are vomitings, giving salt water when stomach ache is complained, and a number of other such health tricks. The home remedies also include vowing to the deities certain offerings. They also believe in the concept of evil eye, which is managed through the practice of dishti. This includes taking turmeric water mixed with lime, dry chili, and hair, rotated around the patient and is poured out. Similarly, some foodstuffs are also offered out, indicating the household therapy include materia medica as well as magico religious. Above all, the kind of affection showered by the family members gives great solace to the sick, hastening the recovery. Thus, these are just a few tribes and their associated healing practices that are aforementioned. There are many other tribes in India who has their own unique ways of providing people with healing. The tribals use indigenous healthcare practices to treat them out of the diseases that they are suffering from. There are many tribes who don't go in for scientific medical system for their healing, as they do not want to mix their culture along with the civilized people. They entrust their full faith on the healthcare, their own practices. Therefore, it is quite evident that the modern system of medical practices is influenced by the indigenous healthcare practices of the tribals. Thank you.